Quarterback's legs. Quarterback's legs.
Fakes left, now taken off. Gonna run for it, he got it! And there he goes! Inside the 10, the 5. Oh, the play of the year in the NFL! Quarterback legs it was.
I said no spy on this play. I can't believe it. The rare mistake by Kansas City.
Hey guys, welcome back. Eric Smith here, 5 Reasons Sports contributor, also co-host on Scouting the Fins. You can find that on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel and also the 3 Yards Per Carry podcast feed. We are here again with my normal weekly Miami Dolphins offensive line grades for Week 10 versus the Buffalo Bills. Just a reminder that these are my personal grades of every offensive lineman, and it's based on their performance on every play. Once those per play grades are complete, they are put into a formula that uses past data to establish 5.00 as an average individual offensive lineman grade, and then it spits out the grade for this game based on their performance. So the overall grade for the line this week was 6.06, which is better than they have been. This is actually the second highest grade of the season, and is the second time that they are above a 6.00. So definitely a good performance against a good team, but there is still room to improve, and we will talk about that when we look at the individual offensive line grades, and we'll look at some of those details when we get into the film review after we get through the grades. And like we do around here, we are going to start with the lowest graded player and work our way up to the highest graded player. So our lowest graded player for this week was Jonah Savaiinaea, and he came in at a 2.19. As you can see, not great for a game grade or a season grade for him, a little bit lower than even what his season grade has been. But there is still some encouragement here. When I look at the grades that I had for him, he only had 2 plays that were graded as full negative zeros. That was one run play and one pass play that happened on the 5th drive of the game. They were actually consecutive plays. But those were the only 2, I would say, flat out awful plays. And the rest of them were half grade negative plays where there's stuff to continue to clean up. I would say that the biggest thing that I'm seeing where he struggled the most was on the backside of outside zone. So outside zone runs to the right. The Dolphins ran more of those this week than normal, and I'm not really sure why, because as we're going to see with Larry Borum, wasn't great there either. But as far as Jonah, I would say that being on the backside, cutoffs on outside zones, is one of those things that takes time to learn. You have to be very aggressive with it, but not too aggressive where they can kind of backdoor you and swim through to make the play anyways. So, that's kind of I don't want to say a higher level type thing, but it kind of is in a sense, being able to get across those 1 technique or 0 technique and being able to seal those off. So even though it is a low grade for Jonah, I do still feel like there was stuff to be encouraged about in this game. And I do still feel like we are seeing a player that is kind of coming into his own. And hopefully, as we get further into the second half of the season, we will see him kind of level out at least around a average player for the second half of the season. And hopefully can grow to more as we move forward. But for this week, he was the lowest graded player. Our next lowest graded player is going to be Larry Borum. He came in at a 3.51. See that for the season, he's been slightly below average, and he was kind of the opposite of what Jonah Savaiinaea was, where Jonah had a bunch of, kind of half negative plays. Larry didn't have too many of those. I only had him with 1 that was a partial negative, but he had 4 plays that were full negatives, and a lot of that came on outside zone runs to his side, which, like I said, I'm not sure why the Dolphins really favored that. I mean, I guess it worked out overall. But for Larry Borum, he's just not really cut out for that. So he did grade higher than Jonah, but I was more encouraged by Jonah's progress and how we're moving towards, half grade negative plays where there's still room to improve versus Larry Borum, where he was just getting beat clean, more often. And overall, Larry Borum's still a backup right tackle. He could be a lot worse than 3.51. We've seen a lot worse than 3.51, but not good enough for a long-term starter by any means. And that's going to wrap it up for the negative. I won't say negative, but the below average grades. Our next lowest grade is going to be Pat Paul. He comes in at a 7.58. As you can see, that is an improvement over his season average. Solid game overall. The only full negative play that I had, I think it was on the very last drive of the game, was a outside zone away from him where he wasn't able to get to the cutoff of the defender. Had him marked as a 0 for that one. A couple other ones were had him marked partially negative. All of his marks that were negative at all were in the run game. So very strong game in pass protection from Pat Paul, and not far from a clean slate for him. So another good performance for the big left tackle. And then kind of a surprise this week, we have Cole Strange coming in at a 7.76, so the second highest graded player of the week. Not a dominant performance by any means, but he avoided those ugly negative plays like we've seen from him almost every week in the past. Another player that he didn't have any 0 graded plays. He had several partially negative. And as we look at it, all but one of them were in the run game. The one that was in the pass game was on a screen. So I think the Dolphins probably did a pretty good job of protecting him. They really weren't in too many traditional pass sets in this game. So when they're sliding to the left and putting him one-on-one, there was really only one time that I have them charted as doing that. So that probably contributes to why his grade is the way that it is, because he did have some troubles in pass protection one-on-one in previous games. So good grade for Cole Strange, but I would give more credit to Mike McDaniel for finding a way to call a game that doesn't expose him. But definitely, we grade on what he's asked to do, and based on what he was asked to do in this game, graded very well. And as usual, it's not difficult at this point to figure out who the highest graded player is, but what is surprising is Aaron Brewer coming in with a 10.00. And this is not to say that there was nothing at all that he did negative. There's not still room for improvement. But when you compare it to grades in the past, it was above the minimum threshold for a 10.00. So that's what it comes in at. And as you can see, he is just trailing Patrick Paul in terms of season grades, which is what's in parentheses here, for the best offensive lineman this season. This 10.00 should go a long way towards that. But every week I posted another one this week on Twitter. You just find stuff that is so fun to watch him do. The one that I had on Twitter for Aaron Brewer this week, if you want to go back and watch it, it was a screen pass to the left, and Jonah was kind of leaking out on his defender. And Aaron Brewer gets out there and just kind of leans back into Jonah's guy to help out. And then as the ball's caught, you see Aaron Brewer fire forward and get onto his defender. So just, not something he has to do there, but just a little bit extra that separates him. So great week from Aaron Brewer, and good week from the offensive line overall, right? We've got 3 guys that graded out very well. Larry Borum, not awful, not great, and then Jonah, bringing up the rear there. If we can bring one of these guys above a 5.00, then, that's going to be a really good week for the offensive line in terms of how the overall comes in. But like I said, second highest graded game of the season for this group. Good overall, but still some room to improve. Like I said, as we get into this film review next, we are going to look at some of the good and some of the bad. First play we're going to look at here is a short yardage. This is a 3rd and 1 play. We're going to see basically a fullback dive, and it's successful. But what we've seen in the past is that the Dolphins have tried to run outside zone concepts and run the fullback in the same direction. So we're going to pause it here. And as we get there, what we've seen in the past when they've done this is if they're giving it to the fullback here, they would run outside zone here. And it just felt like they were bringing the entire defense with it, and that we're trying to run the fullback into a bad position. So what they do this week is they take the halfback out that way, and then we're running inside zone essentially to the right side. So we've got Larry Borum, he's covered, he's blocking there. Cole Strange covered, he's blocking there. Brewer's uncovered, right? Jonah is covered. Pat Paul uncovered. We're going to get Dulcich here sealing. So with Brewer uncovered, we're going to see a combo there up through this linebacker, and then Pat Paul uncovered is climbing there, and we're getting Alec Ingold downhill right through the bubble that's created in the defense there. So, like I said, this is something that they haven't really done it this way in the past, and I like the way that this looks. As you can see, we got the solo blocks there, just kind of sealing to the outside, the double team here, working up, and that just creates that lane that we can get through and convert for a first down. So I like this as a change up to the short yardage offense they've been running, and hopefully something we see as we go forward as well. This is going to be outside zone to the right, and the reason I want to highlight this one is that we've talked in the past about the motions and the way that it has put the offensive line at a disadvantage. And on this one, I felt like it was one of those examples where the motion really helped the offensive line. Right? So as we get back to the beginning here, we have Alec Ingold right there. Now, when we're looking at the assignments here, pen back on there. So we're actually going to bring Alec Ingold through to that linebacker. So we're getting a block there. We're getting the combo block here, and we're going to ask Strange to climb up, right? And then we're getting a combo there, climb up as well, and then a block there. But we're going to get Ingold coming in motion. Mainly, I want you to watch this linebacker because this is where the difference is made. And Strange still doesn't get a great block on him, but as that motion goes to the right, we're going to see this linebacker move to the right, and that just creates a cleaner angle for Cole Strange to get through there. So as we watch this, watch number 8, watch Ingold, see the way they're shifting over, and see where that linebacker is now, and how Cole Strange can get more vertical with that block. We get Ingold leading through. Right, here's Ingold. And then he's leading through to 58. And now Strange, again, like I said, he doesn't get a great block here, but if that linebacker started further over, he's probably scraping over and making the play there earlier. Right, but instead he's able to only get an arm tackle. And he does make the tackle, but big difference between him being able to scrape into the hole and make a tackle at the line of scrimmage versus reaching an arm out and getting hands on him 5 yards downfield. So again, I just like how Mike used the motion here to shift those linebackers away from the play they're running, bring Ingold back to the play, and just create some nice angles for the offensive line. This one here, not really going to draw on it, but I want to highlight the formation here. You've got Devon Achane out here. You have Ollie Gordon and then Malik Washington, sorry. And at the snap of the ball, they're all going in opposite directions. You can kind of see how that makes the defense pause, right? We get a little bit of a hesitation there. We're getting number 39 here stepping in the wrong direction, which is just enough for Paul to get out there. Great job by Pat Paul here of getting out there and being able to make that defender go underneath, and then for him to be able to continue upfield and get to Poyer as well. Solid job blocking by Sed Wilson on the outside there as well. Nearly a touchdown, but just like the uniqueness of the formation. I mean, this is a play they've run plenty of times, right? But now we're just adding a little bit of window dressing here with Gordon and Washington to the other side here. Again, just running the same plays, just finding different ways to make them look is a big part of the evolution that you see in good offenses as they progress throughout the season. This next one is not a big gain. I don't remember the down and distance, but what I want to highlight here is that is a change in philosophy, right, or a change in mentality. Because if you look, we're going to wait till Ingold comes in motion here. I'm going to pause it. So now if I look at this, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blockers. And if we look at how many are in the box, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the Dolphins are outnumbered on this play, right? But we still see them willing to run the ball at this, which is something that we really didn't get in the past. You know that somebody is going to be unblocked here. And what we end up getting is not a big game, but this is still the type of play that can kind of set the tone for the game. Even though, you know that you're outnumbered in the box, when you're still willing to run at it and you're still getting, what is that, 3-4 yards? These are the kind of tone-setting runs, even though it's not Ollie Gordon, big, powerful, right? We're still falling forward. We're still creating movement up front. This is the type of run that sets the tone for the rest of the game where you say, we don't care how many you have in the box. We are going to continue to run the ball and continue to make that part of the game. And that is eventually going to make the defense change the way that they play as well. This is going to be the Jalen Waddle touchdown reception. And the reason I'm going to have this one on here is that this is the protection that Ollie Gordon slipped on last week. So we are going to get, everybody's blocking down here. Everybody's down there. Jonah is pulling to the outside. We've got Pat Paul getting down there. Front skills there. We're going to get Ingold coming in motion. He's going to come back here to help the backside. But last week we saw Ollie Gordon, try to get too much into this defensive end and ended up slipping and falling. This time we're going to see a little bit different in that. And the other thing I want you to see is just, having Brunskill out here as the tight end on the backside. You can just see the confidence in Tua as he's in this drop back. So again, you see Ollie Gordon getting over here, but he's not being too aggressive to get involved with that. He's letting Jonah doing his thing and just kind of be the the backup to that, which is what he's intending to do there. So avoiding the silly penalty that he had last week by being a little too aggressive. And then on the backside, right, we got Tua is turning his back to Dan Brunskill. And if this was, a tight end over here, you might not be as confident, but he knows he's got Brunskill back here. Plus he's got Ingold coming through. So this is 7-man protection. And you can just see the confidence in Tua being able to step into that throw and deliver a deep shot. And we're actually going to see that on the next play here. So this is the first time the Dolphins have run a tackle trap issue. So it's going to be Pat Paul pulling across, and he's trying to get to Bosa here. Larry Borum ideally is just going to climb and seal there. And everybody else is down. Because Brewer doesn't have to work down right away, we're going to see more of a combo between Brewer and Strange trying to steal Bernard here. And then what we're going to get is a late rotation, and that's going to be Cole Bishop working up there. And we're going to see that Larry Borum makes the proper adjustment. He fans this out and still gets to Bishop. He doesn't try to get over top, but the corresponding move here is that Joey Bosa is going to slant to the inside, and that's going to make it a really tough block for Pat Paul. We're also going to see Aaron Brewer, who, like I said, had a really good game, but not completely perfect, is going to get pushed back a little bit here. Right here we see Bishop is walking up, right, and we're going to see Borum still getting out, getting Bishop. And I guess I was a little wrong there. Brewer wasn't going backside. Brewer's working front side to that combo to let Strange work up. You can see he gives up a little bit of penetration there that Brewer does. And as a result of that, knocks Pat Paul a little bit off path, right? In a perfect world, what we're going to see here is that Brewer gets there, Pat Paul's there, and Ollie is a little more vertical with this path, getting through there. But we don't get it. The path by Joey Bosa puts him a little quicker than what Pat Paul would anticipate. Brewer knocked back a little bit on the combo block there, and we end up with a 3-yard loss. But still wanted to include this because this is the first time the Dolphins ran this tackle trap concept. I think it's something we're going to see in the future as well. And it's very close, right? If we get Pat Paul across there and we get Ollie Gordon through this, B gap area, we're really close to getting Devon Achane one-on-one with Jordan Poyer, and we all know how that ends up. And then another concept that we haven't seen run before, obviously you've got a bit of a unique formation here with Achane, Jalen Wright, and Dan Brunskill all over there. But we're going to get a center tackle counter. So everybody else is blocking down here. We're going to seal there. And then what kind of messes this up is Brunskill. And this is a new angle for him, right? Like, we want to cut off his backside end. But, Brunskill being basically a sniffer position is not something he's used to. We're going to see Achane out there. And then we're going to see the counter back here by Jalen Wright. And, this is another play that has a lot of potential. So we're getting the down blocks here between Borum and Strange. Jonah's cutting off there. Getting Aaron Brewer around to get the kick out on the counter. Now, ideally, this is going to hit through this C gap where you get Pat Paul turning up and cutting off Milano there. He ends up taking that a little further outside. No real issue with that because Jalen Wright reads it the same way, right? Almost like old school buck sweep where you got the backside guard and he's following that. And, that makes Brewer's block look a lot worse than what it was. But if we watch Brunskill on the backside here, kind of gets too far outside. And then as he's trying to get down inside Daquan Jones, you can see that he's now in a trail position. And that's really what prevents Jalen Wright from being able to get through that gap there or getting a clean release. So he ends up bouncing it. Could also say that if Pat Paul is going to take this to the outside, would like to see him play through that outside shoulder and let Brewer get around to the outside. But Jalen Wright ends up doing a good job breaking a tackle and making a really nice run out of this. But in general, just wanted to include this because this is another new concept that we're seeing with this center tackle counter. And when you're, catering to your best offensive lineman in Brewer and Patrick Paul, finding different ways to take advantage of it, really like this wrinkle that was added to the offense. And then this was the play that I was talking about with Brewer. I did share this on Twitter as well. This is just going to be a screen to the left, right? Nothing too special here, but I want you to watch Aaron Brewer here. Right? So as he gets out here, Jonah's going to try to get around to this defensive tackle. Not able to get quite all the way around. So watch Aaron Brewer here. Right? He gets over, sticks his butt in there, and just kind of seals it to help Jonah get all the way around while he's keeping his eyes downfield. Then as the ball is caught, then he gets downfield, attaches to Milano, and springs it for a big gain. But just a high-level thing here. Like, this little help with Jonah is not something a lot of centers are going to do, not something you have to do, right? This is him just doing something extra that doesn't pop out on the tape as a pancake block like we've seen in the past, but this is still just as high level as those pancake blocks. It's something that I always love to see Brewer doing, just special stuff on the tape every week. Here's a play that a couple different people asked me to do. This play looks really ugly, but I don't think it's quite as ugly as it looks. So you're going to have Alec Ingold coming in motion. He's going to kick out here. This is going to be outside zone. So ideally what you would have is the combo there, right? And then we're solo there. Working up here, right? We're there, and then working through. But what we're going to getting is that this ends up looking ugly, this ends up looking ugly, and this ends up looking ugly. So it looks like we have basically everybody losing on this rep. But like I said, I don't think it's as bad as it's going to look here as we play the tape. Right? Obviously, it looks like we have Borum, Strange, and Jonah all losing pretty bad. And I'm not going to, defend all of them. I'm not really going to defend any of them too much. But the biggest loss here, the only one that really matters, is Larry Borum here. So we're running an outside zone to the right side. Here comes Ingold in motion. They're walking this guy up. when he slants inside, there's no longer a combo there. Brunskill's not going to chase him, so Brunskill is climbing. But Larry Borum doesn't even get a hand on Joey Bosa. So that is the key factor in this play looking as ugly as it does. And Cole Strange is going to look ugly also, right? But that defender is taking himself out of the play. We're running outside zone to the right. If we can just, and you can see Borum tripping a little bit there, but if we can just get a little bit from Larry Borum on the front side here, just to, doesn't even have to push him inside, just has to put a little pressure on him to prevent him from being able to slice back into the lane, right? And if we get that, then now we're kind of cooking because Achan's going to read that all the way. There's no way he's going to the backside, so even though Strange and Jonah are losing, those blocks are basically irrelevant. All we need is for Larry Borum to get a piece of that, and then we're getting downhill right into that lane, and we have a good play. So, ugly looking play, but it's probably a lot closer to a really good looking play than you might have thought watching this one on the broadcast. And then last play we're going to look at here. So this is one that I discussed a little bit on Twitter. I actually posted it first saying that it was duo, touchdown by Achan. But when I came back and I watched this All-22, I think that the play that we're looking at is actually a counter solid that just completely went to crap. And I'm going to kind of explain why I feel that way here. So as we're coming into motion, so if I am right, if this is counter solid, then what we're getting is that Borum is going to be down to here. Strange is going to help before getting up to there. We're here, and then we're just blocking the backside here. And then we're going to get Rucci, who comes into motion here and then slips. But I think what he was trying to do was just to seal off Bosa. And then we would get Dulcich coming around and leading up to Milano, right? And now we have our counter action, and we're hitting that here. But we're going to see that that is not what happens at all. That we get Rucci in motion, we get the slip, but you can see that Larry Borum is working to the inside there. If this was a duo, I think that Strange would have gotten a little more vertical, trying to help out with the double team there before sliding off to Bernard. But he's not looking to give much, right? He's getting to Bernard pretty quickly here. Larry Borum, I think, as he's stepping down here, I think just ends up getting a little too aggressive. Jordan Phillips does a good job swimming over top of him. Rucci is slipping there. So now everything here, he's just gone to complete crap. I saw a post about Terrell Bernard here saying he overran this. And as he's reading this, right, I think that he's reading the down blocks here and Dulcich coming across. He's reading this counter solid. And if this play goes where it's designed, I think Bernard's actually in a good spot. But this is where Achan turns into a special player. And as he's taking the handoff, right, I'm sure, would have seen Rucci coming over here, seen him slipping, right? Eyes are there. Everything there is clogged up, right? Sees a little lane here and right here. Making 39, missing a phone booth. That's just a ridiculous move there to be able to change the path from the original play, find that lane, and then just complete natural instincts to be able to get that little jump cut to the inside, right? And then we get the scenario that we all want of Achan one-on-one with Jordan Poyer in the open field. Not even a chance there, but just in general, I thought, like I said, kind of explained why there, that I feel this play was counter solid, not duo. But the biggest thing here is, just Achan being special when it came time to be the closer in this game. He brought out the cape and turned into that special player that he is. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this week. As always, appreciate you guys leaving comments below. Let me know what you want to see different. I know there was a request from Ghost to do a breakdown of the tight ends. I didn't do it on this video, but hopefully I can get some time later this week. Definitely looked like Rucci and Dulcich had a good game, so it might be some good film to break down. So might try to do that if I have time for it. If there's anything else that you guys want to see with these videos, leave the comments below. Make sure you're checking it out on Twitter some of the conversations that happened on Twitter, or the plays that either I shared or people ask about, is what makes it into these breakdowns. So always a good place to converse there. But as always, appreciate you guys watching, and we